Hi, all.
28 minutes, Michelle. Go.
All right. So as it turns out, we actually have MacGyver in the audience today. So are you an admin?
I'm not. I'm IT production support.
He'll be an admin by the end of the meeting. It's fine.
But I have admins on my team.
Yeah, awesome. This was not inspired by him, honestly. I was in love with the 80s TV show as a small child. What that man could do with duct tape and a Swiss Army knife made him my hero. When I learned about custom metadata, I'm like, dude, this is MacGyver for Salesforce. Awesome. All right, so I want to start by saying thank you to the sponsors. I am one of the organizers of Midwest Dreamin', so I know exactly how important they are. So if you have not, please do say thank you to them. We would not be here without them. Enough said, right? So a little bit about me. I work for Slalom, a consulting company. I'm an MVP. I've got some certifications. I coach with Rad, help organize Midwest Dreamin'. Basically, I love to give back to the community. I love to share what I learn. I learned about this, and I'm like, why do people not know about this? Let's fix it, right? So what is custom metadata? Well, it's a way to build records that go into your org that are not designed for user data like accounts and contacts, but they're instead designed to help you determine how your org should function. So because it's metadata, this means we can deploy it from sandboxes to prod. We can use change sets or packages or the metadata API or whatever DevOps tool that you like. That means when you refresh sandboxes from production, it comes with you. It's not like a custom object where you have to then do a data extract, a data load, all that crazy nonsense that drives us admins crazy. You can use it in a bunch of places. So if you've got formula fields, validation rules, flows, Apex code, all of these can reference custom metadata, and you can use it across all of these kinds of automations and formula field shortcuts type things. How many of you have used a custom label or a custom setting? How many of you like them? Okay, there's a couple hands up. So custom metadata is like the cooler older brother to those two. We'll talk about why. How many of you that are admins in the room have built a custom object? How many of you are afraid of custom objects? See, nobody has their hands up. You can't be afraid of custom metadata because it's exactly as easy as building a custom object. All right? Cool. So, while it is kind of like a custom object, not exactly the same here. So there's some things I want you to be aware of in terms of limitations. It's metadata, not data, which means we can't run reports on it. That really bites you in the butt when your boss is like, can you run me a list of all the custom metadata things we've got? And I'm like, sure, let me run we can't do that, hold on a minute. I'll get back to you. That also means it's not easy to mass create or upload like you can with Data Loader, because again, we're not working with data. There are some navigation challenges. I will not lie to you. It is not the nicest. It is not like a custom object where you have list views and can click on a tab. Like, there are some navigation challenges you're going to run into, but the trade-offs are worth it. It doesn't have every field type that you're used to on custom objects. You've got auto number, formula, currency, geolocation that you can use on custom objects. These are not here in custom metadata. It's very bare bones, shrunk down. The one thing I wish, and I say this in every presentation in case the Salesforce product manager is in the room, I want lookups, just to user at least, but I want lookups, please. Thanks. Because you can only look up to other custom metadata types right now, and what I really, really want is a lookup to a user ID. Okay, so bigger, funner, older brother, right? So if we talk about custom metadata versus custom labels versus custom settings, it's metadata, so that means it's going to cost a query and flow. Now, recently, they've started giving you the ability to get to it with a $sign metadata. Seems to be a little hit and miss, so I'm still in the cost of query camp, but if you can get around that, definitely do. But it's like an object. You can have multiple fields, you can have multiple types of fields, so you can store more information in a single custom metadata record than you can in like a custom label. So if we're talking about custom labels, they're also metadata. They come with you when you refresh the sandbox, you can deploy them. It's accessible as that global variable in flow, but it's a single custom field, essentially. You can put one thing in it, and that's basically it. It's like just one plain old boring field. If we look at custom settings, there's a couple different kinds. It's data. You refresh your sandbox, great, go reset all your custom settings. Got to set them back up. It's also global variable in flow, which is nice. But even though it costs a query, the nice thing is it doesn't actually cost you the costing you a query. They don't count it towards your query limit, if I remember correctly. So that's another reason I like custom metadata. It also can be an object with multiple fields in your custom settings. The bottom line is there's lots of different ways to do things in Salesforce. Do the pros and cons. Figure out which one works best for you. To be completely honest, by the time I learned about it, I learned about custom metadata first, so I'm obviously biased. I love it. I like it first and better. Okay, so we're doing good. 25 minutes. I want to make sure that I can get into the meat here. So I'm not going to actually build it because I don't have time for that demo, but I'm actually going to demo a use case and show you how we use custom metadata for Midwest Streamin'. So if you want to create records that have dynamic default values, you can set a default value on a field in an object, right? And that means you can set a value in that field, or if you want to get super fancy, maybe you can do a couple of things with a formula to set a default value. That only gets you so far. What I wanted to do is be able to create a repeatable set of tasks for every sponsor that signs with Midwest Streamin' at specific points in our opportunity process or our sales process. So when someone actually signs with us, we make the opportunity close 1. I need to create tickets for them to be able to come to the event. I need a Google Drive folder for their company logo, their company information, that kind of stuff. All of that needs to be done by a human. So I need a task created and assigned to someone. Once they've paid us, I have other things that need to be done. So I need to add them to our Slack channel where they can ask questions and communicate with us. I want to create a reminder so that I write them a thank you card that I can hand to them on site as appreciation for being part of our event. Once they send us our logo and we've received that, we're ready to promote them on our website and on the mobile app. So I need to make sure that I have a task to be able to send over to our web team to make sure that he gets it on our website. So there's all of these different things that I need at different points in the process, and I don't want to have to remember this. I also want them all to be tasks. So let's take a look at how we actually set this up in our org. So first things first, under setup, under your custom code, there's the custom metadata types. And so let's zoom in here just a little bit so y'all can see it. And so I have a variety of custom metadata types in here. Right now I only have 2, so I have one called task template. And so if I click on manage records, I was able to build out this custom metadata object just like a custom object, and I can click in here. This is basically my list view of all of the tasks that we have. So, you know, creating a Google Drive folder. If I click in here, I can actually pull up what looks like a record. So I have the label and the API name, the task template name. I have the subject that's going to get created on my task. I have the instructions that I want to go in that task description field. I have an inactive checkbox. I have an assigned to field. I have a due date with a number. And then I have this trigger criteria at the bottom. And I have an object, a field, an operator, and a value. And so this is how I set up in my metadata when should this fire and what should go in the task record. And so then what we do is we leverage flow to do this. So I've got 2 flows. Number 1 is my record triggered flow on opportunity. So if we dig through here, I go through here and I say, okay, did we get their logo? That was the first thing, right? Now I want to put them on our website. Cool. If that's the box on the opportunity that got checked, we're going to go down our yes path. And so then we're going to get our task templates. And so this is our query. And so we're going to go through and we're going to get records of this object, task template. You can see here that it's got an interesting suffix. We're used to underscore underscore C, right? Custom metadata gets an underscore underscore MDT. So it's really easy to find in your list of objects your metadata objects versus your custom objects. And so now I can say pull me all of the ones where the triggering object equals opportunity, the triggering field is logo received, the triggering operator is equals, and the triggering field value is true. So if I hop back over to my custom metadata, I told you there was obnoxiousness in trying to navigate. So if I go add sponsor to the website, we have the ability to see, I clicked on the wrong one. Good job, Michelle. So, but we can go through and we can see exactly when this is going to happen. So I actually have this set to be the promotion ready field instead. So if I go look at this, this get will actually get nothing at this point, but when I come down here, there's a decision for promotion ready. So when this one evaluates to true, we'll grab all the information and we'll do it that way. And so what we do is once we get those task templates from our metadata record, I check and make sure that we found some, best practice in flow. And then I'm going to call a subflow called task creation. And so this is because I want to reuse this creation of task flow over and over and over again in different places. Also, we decided to expand the use beyond sponsorships to speakers. So when we do our speaker content submissions, when we have a speaker submission that's approved and accepted, we want to start creating social media content for them to promote their session. We want to reach out to them and make sure that they have everything they need. Their Google Drive folder gets created. So we've expanded this out. So not only is this something that we can run on Opportunity, but we can run this on other objects in our org instead. So if we dig into our subflow here, that's not the right one, hold on. There we go. It's an auto-launched flow, and so we're passing in the information from the task templates that we received. And so I get some of that information passed in. And so what I do is all of the task templates that I got in my master flow here, I'm going to loop through each one of them. And so for each one, I'm going to go get a queue record because that's who we're going to assign to. And I'm going to get the queue record that matches the current item from my loop. So if I go back and I look at the custom metadata record that I pulled up, this gets assigned to my website queue. So it's going to say, cool, go find me the website queue, and then we're going to use that in our assignment object next. So we're going to build the task out, and it's basically we're going to take and create from our template in custom metadata the actual task record. So the assigned to ID equals the formula that we've set for the assigned to, which is either the queue, and if I couldn't find an active queue, I default it to the current user. Task due date, we use this due date field over on our custom metadata record to set a due date of today plus this number. So if I want it added to the website, we say that should happen within 3 days. I'll give you the weekends off, I'm nice, right? So we need this within 3 days, so that's the formula that we pull to set the task due date. The subject, we're going to pull straight from that record. Whatever in the subject field is exactly what I'm going to put here. Same thing with the description. Pull it straight off of that custom metadata record. And then we determine who we're setting in the what ID or the who ID. If you haven't dealt with tasks, tasks are weird. They have this multi-tenant or whatever, polymorphic relationship. Who ID is if you're relating it to an object in Salesforce that represents a person, which is a contact or a lead. If you're associating it to anything else, a case, an account, an opportunity, a custom object, that's a thing. That goes in the what ID. I think it took me a decade and a half. I haven't even been using Salesforce that long, that's an exaggeration. But it took me forever to understand the difference and when to use which one. So now I'm like, public service announcement, this is what they are. Also, I really hate tasks, so. Finally, we set the status as open. And so then once we have this done, we're doing this all in a loop because again, we may have multiple tasks that need to be created and I want to bulkify this for best practice. So then after we go through our loop at the end, finally what we do is we create all of those tasks. So if I hop over here and I go over to tasks, so we've got a few here that I left open so I could take a look at things. So if I go create sponsor in Whova, I'm going to go back to our custom metadata, and I'm going to find our create sponsor in Whova. So if I look at this, steps to complete the task. For exhibitors with a booth, navigate, input, add. For sponsors without a booth, navigate, input, add something else. We're doing a couple of different things here. So if I go back over to this, here's my steps to complete the task. It's an exact copy. I can set the priority and the status. I can assign this to my registration queue. I've related it to that specific opportunity. Thanks DBSync for sponsoring our event earlier this year. And the due date is the date this flow ran plus that number. So if we go back and look at our custom metadata, that said this should be done within 5 days. So created on 7/10, due date on 7/15. The beauty of this is instead of hard coding all of this into a flow, and when next year we decide we're not using Google Drive and we're going to house everything on the opportunity record in Salesforce, I'd have to open my flow, I'd have to figure out where that element was, I'd have to update it, I'd have to save it as a new version of my flow, I'd have to remember to activate it, because damn it, I forget that every time. And then I'd have multiple versions of my flow. And then when all of a sudden somebody else wants to come in from the team and start using this, Another version of the flow, keep hard coding things. This gives me the ability to leave it completely alone unless I need to add a new object or a new set of triggering field conditions. That's the only time I have to touch the flow. Anytime I want to update what happens here, I can come straight over to my custom metadata record, click edit, and this is literally as easy as filling out a custom object record. And in the event that this is something we no longer need, we have this inactive checkbox. It's built into the logic of the flow that if we inactivate this one, it just won't pull it when I query for it. It'll only pull active tasks that meet my criteria. So I can have 50 of these, 100 of these, and I can make sure that they're all created. And as they get updated, I can do it all without having to touch my flow. Let's cancel that. Okay, so hopefully that helps kind of illustrate the power of custom metadata, but that's not all you can do with it. So what else can you use custom metadata for? Honestly, kind of anything you can think of. But some things that I've seen it used for a lot or have done myself, mapping data or building relationships between data. So if you have a list of zip codes and you need to associate what county each one of those zip codes is related to, you can do that. I had a boss who hated the fact that I t-shirt sized all our projects. He's like, how many hours is that? I'm like, I don't know, it's an extra small project, like an hour? He's like, why can't you just tell me that? I said, you know what, fine. So I built a map in custom metadata, so every time I built a project record in Salesforce for a request that we got in, I t-shirt sized it. There was a formula field that said number of hours, extra small t-shirt size, 1 hour, small t-shirt size, 4 hours, 4XL t-shirt size, hire me an admin, okay, thanks. Creating business rules. Another one I like to use a lot is, do you send notifications to someone? Maybe we want to notify a support manager if we have a case that hasn't actually been touched or looked at in half an hour or 2 hours. Maybe we want to send our business development rep a notification if we have a lead that is still in new status 5 days later and no one's touched it. Okay, cool. I can hard code that email in to my flow, send them a notification. Or I can set that up in custom metadata, give me the ability to send it to multiple people, and when they're off on vacation or out on medical leave, maybe they tripped and fell off the stage and broke their leg at a conference. Let's hope that doesn't happen today, by the way. Like, I can do that in custom metadata, and I can change it on that record and not have to touch the flow. Also, I worked for a company with a crazy nuts pricing model. Like, if you think it was crazy to price something, they said, watch this, hold my beer. Some of it was priced by tier. It cost you 50 cents each for the first 5,000, cost you 45 cents each for the next 5,000. It cost you 35 cents each for the 5,000 after that. So it was 5,000 times 50, 5,000 times 45, plus 5,000 times 35. Holy Toledo. Like, it wasn't even like you hit a tier and you get that price and it's total quantity times that price. No, that's too easy. We can't do that. And they're like, we want to get out of doing this in Excel. Can we build this in Salesforce? And I'm like, you could buy CPQ. And they're like, do you want a paycheck? And I'm like, hold on a minute. And I built it in custom metadata. So it was basically a mini CPQ when we didn't actually need full CPQ yet. But it gave us the ability to map the pricing structure because we had 7 across all of our products. And I could pick the pricing structure, set all of the tiers, all of the prices per tier, gather the information I needed, and do those calculations. And I built a great screen flow wizard to help them calculate pricing on the fly. So there's lots of different things you can do with custom metadata. I swear this is one of those things where I'm like, oh, dude, now that I know about this, I can see use cases for it everywhere. And that's where I wanted to share it with the rest of you, because developers should not have exclusive access to this really cool tool. Okay, so 25-minute session. Clearly, we've scratched the surface, maybe. There is plenty of resources. I'm happy to make the slide deck available with all of these links. But there's a lot of great content on here. I'm also happy to talk nerdy with you about custom metadata at any point in time. Like, if you've got thoughts, I've got opinions, let's have a conversation. But these are some great tips and tricks on custom metadata, how to use them in Flow, reasons for doing things outside of Flow, like not hard coding, not just IDs, but other things. And some other examples that might spark your creativity and imagination. All right, I think I managed to leave enough time for questions.
I'm loud, I can yell. What's the use case of the pick lists to records?
Okay, so I had a use case on there for mapping pick list values to records. I worked for a software company, We built utility and telephone billing software, so when you get a phone bill or a utility bill every month, like we're the company that makes the software to do that. It was basically a customized CRM for utility and telecoms. Yes, Salesforce Utility Cloud is a competitor of that now, and I don't work there anymore, so that's cool. But we had fields on our account record that basically said, for every type of software you use, who is your vendor? Is it us? Is it somebody else? Because not only did we compete with all of these, but we also had to integrate with them, so we were total frenemies. Well, somebody had the brilliant idea of saying, you know, it would be smart to have these accounts and be able to actually link, like, who are customers of all of our competitors. And so they said, okay, well, we want you to basically create lookups for all of this. I'm like, hold on a minute. This is insane. Also, my users can't figure out Salesforce as is. They're never going to figure out this lookup thing the way you want it built. So let them keep their pick lists. And what I did is in custom metadata, I said, okay, so here's my pick list value. If it says company A, their account ID is 001 blah, blah, blah. And if it's company B, it's 001 yada, yada, yada. And company C was 001 ding, ding, ding. And so what I had is automation on the back end that basically said, all right, when you set the pick list field value to this on an account record, go look up what account it should be and build the related list record off of their account to show that they have one of our customers as their customer as well. I should have pushed back on the requirement, but little me wasn't that smart.
Would you do it now?
No.
All right, well, I'm going to push a requirement on you right over here in the back. Michelle, in the back. We have a question.
Hi, thanks for this talk. I wondered if you or anybody in the room has the hot ticket on when we're going to get custom metadata in the resource picker in flows, so I don't have to use a get records.
I don't. Honestly, I have heard, I think one conference ago, one of my flow nerd friends, Engin Utkin, who runs Salesforce Break, has actually toyed around with it and has said in certain places in flows, he can get to it with the global variable under $ metadata. It doesn't seem to be universally available though, so this is definitely hashtag safe harbor, try at your own risk thing. But also, if I remember correctly, this is one query that doesn't actually cost you toward your query limit in flow. So again, I never try and get anywhere close to the query limit in flow, so you know, I'm okay rolling the dice with that one. Hopefully soon though. As a matter of fact, I'll go put a bug in the flow team's ear at Dreamforce in a couple weeks.
I think we can do one more question if it's really simple. Anybody?
Yeah, this is not Stump the Presenter today.
So Michelle, I have a question for you.
Yes, Nikki?
All right, last call. All right, let's give a big hand for Michelle Hansen, everybody.